Traditional or Roth for a 28-year-old? You get to be the judge and jury. Hi, this is financial planner Sean Mullaney. Let's discuss. I wanted you to think in your own mind, hey, this is a 28-year-old. They've got some interesting circumstances. Should they be doing traditional 401ks or Roth 401ks? And this video is inspired by a recent episode of the Jill on Money podcast. I'm going to link to it in the description below. In it, Jill Schlesinger works on a fact pattern of a 28-year-old single California resident who's a renter. And they generally don't have that much in the way of assets today. No debt, but small savings account, $25,000, small prior employer traditional 401k, and they've got a new job. And now for the first time, they have a six-figure salary, $175,000 a year to be precise. And Jill Schlesinger was advocating in her podcast episode for Roth 401k contributions for this type of profile. I'm going to take a different approach, and I invite you to be the judge and jury. Let me know in the comments what you think. All right, so I think when we assess this and, hey, should this person contribute to the traditional 401k, the Roth 401k, I think we got to look at some numbers, right? And so let's look at a little tax picture I've come up with here. We're single. We live in California. We are going to have marginal tax brackets, right? In terms of what's the benefit of contributing to a traditional 401k or the sacrifice of going to a Roth 401k for that $23,000. We're squarely in the 24% bracket federal, 9.3% bracket California. I've got some NerdWallet sites here. I mean, you could see here the 24%. Regardless of what we decide to do, we have a 14,600 standard deduction in the year 2024. We are going to be in the 24% bracket. And California is similar tune, right? California has a very wide 9.3% bracket for single individuals. This NerdWallet site linked below, 68,000 and change to 349,000 of change in taxable income. So we know the benefit of contributing to a traditional 401k instead of a Roth 401k today is 33.3 cents on the dollar of that $23,000. Okay. Well, what's it going to look like in retirement? And that's a future video. Sorry about that. What's it going to look like in retirement for this person? Right? Well, I've done videos on this on the channel. When we look at traditional 401ks and traditional IRAs, when we take the money out, we have to go through the progressive tax brackets. You see them here, 10%, 12%, 22%, 24%. All right. This single person, by the way, might have much bigger brackets because they might get married, right? But regardless of whether they get married or not, they still have 10% bracket, 12% bracket, 22% bracket. And so for them to even get back to the 24% bracket, it's going to take a lot of income because you got to remember, it's $100,000 in 2024 dollars. That'll go up based on inflation. IRS adjusts that every year. And they get the standard deduction, which is over $14,000 today. So to even get back to 24% on the last dollar of the retirement account distribution for the year, it's going to be very difficult because you got all this room in the 10%, 12%, 22% bracket. So as I've talked about previously on the channel, the odds are, even if there's some tax hikes in the future, and again, the odds on that are not high. I've talked about that on the channel. The odds are they're going to benefit in the long run, taking the 24% deduction and then re-including it in income through the 10%, 12%, 22% bracket, even if some of it sloshes into 24. Okay, so that's the federal analysis. I think where it's really compelling for the traditional today over the Roth is the state income tax analysis. Because we know we get 9.3 cents on the dollar. Well, there's two reasons why that means we probably should be biased towards the traditional instead of the Roth. One of them is this. California, for all its flaws, is a progressive tax state. And this very much helps retirees. Why? This person is going to take those traditional IRA, traditional 401k distributions through a 1% bracket, a 2% bracket, a 4% bracket, 6%, 8%. Eventually, it will get back to 9.3%. And yeah, you don't have to have that much income to get back to 9.3%. But on all the way up to the $68,000, and they'll get a standard deduction, all the way up there, they're going to be well lower than the 9.3%. And then they'll just be back at 9.3%. And on those last dollars, it'll just be an even trade, 9.3 for 9.3. Now, look, there's a little political risk on those last dollars because, hey, maybe they're going to increase the tax rate to 9.4%, 9.5%, 10%. It's a possibility, although in California, you start to run up against, well, wait a minute, people might just keep moving out of the state. Are they really going to increase taxes? It's a little bit of a political risk, but again, you got this run up the brackets, the 1%, 2%, 4%. And another thing about that, for federal purposes, today at least, Social Security is up to 85% taxed. In California, Social Security is not taxed. So that means, yeah, there'll be some interest and dividend income in retirement. So that might cover the 1%, the 2% bracket. But even if it does, we still get the 4% bracket on the traditional IRA distribution, the 6%, the 8%. So you have a real opportunity to, even if you stay in California, do very well from a income tax perspective. But this also ignores, well, wait a minute. He's only 28 years old and he's single. There's a real possibility he's going to move to a lower tax state or to a no tax state. Can you imagine if this person moves to Texas or Florida or Tennessee, 3 states that are getting a lot of move-ins right now? Right? It's certainly not impossible. Nevada even is a potential, a Washington state, right? These states have no income taxes. Can you imagine if this person does the Roth 401k, forgoes a 9.3% state tax deduction, and then says, you know what? I really like Florida. I'm like Morty Seinfeld. I'm going to move to Florida. And now they pay 0 on traditional IRA distributions, right? So that also very much argues for, hey, take the state tax deduction when we know it's valuable, 9.3 cents on the dollar. And then, yeah, maybe we stay in California and we get this little run up, great. But maybe we move to Florida and it's tax free, whether it's traditional or Roth. Why do we need the Roth? Let's take the benefit. Okay. The other thing about it is 401k conversation has to be considered in the context of everything else. If this person says, you know what, I'm going to do this traditional 401k, guess what they get to do? They get to bring home, by my math, $7,600 more because of the tax savings. Well, what could this person do with this? Remember, the profile is they got one small 401k, that's about it, a little savings account. They can do the backdoor Roth IRA. By the way, they don't have to. This person's actually in the phase out for the modified adjusted gross income or the Roth IRA annual contribution if they deduct the 401k contribution. But either way, like, okay, maybe we do a backdoor Roth or we just take that $7,600 and just add to our taxable savings. Either outcome really helps your financial future, right? $7,000 backdoor Roth, you still have $659 for an extra taxable brokerage contribution or a little extra vacation time or whatever it is. By doing the traditional 401k, we open up more runway to do Roth IRAs or taxable brokerage accounts that can then later flexibly serve us in a later retirement, in an early retirement, in a conventional retirement. So for all these reasons, I think the numbers work out that somebody who is at a 33.3% marginal federal and state combined rate is, in most cases, look, there's no guarantees on YouTube, but in most cases, I think it's going to work out that, hey, you know what? They probably ought to prioritize those traditional 401k contributions. But you let me know what you think in the comments below. You're the judge and jury. And if you like this video, I'm going to ask that you text it to one person you think should see this video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.